amazing Irina, but we have with us Bruno, Kara, and myself. And as you know, each one of us have a business. Each one of us are working toward creating a better environment and making great connections every single day. So we're gonna be talking today about networking and how to boost visibility. So, Kara, as a leadership coach, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, yes. As a
Nailed.
leadership coach, you see, I'm always practicing on that. I always want to say business, but hey, as a leadership coach, what is your biggest beef with network?
My biggest beef of networking is that people go in and then they're mad that nobody is buying their product, but they went with zero intention of buying anything themselves. They're like mad. They're like, how come I went to this networking? How come nobody there bought my things? Well, did you show up with the desire to buy things? Oh no, your intention was to probably you're in a room full of people who were also looking to sell. And that's not what networking is for. Like it's literally the worst place to try and sell your things because everybody is there to network to lead to sales. Like sales is a separate conversation. This is your opportunity to get in front of people and connect like on a human level so that they have a desire to know more or put you in front of somebody who they're like, actually, they totally need you. But if you can't connect, if you're only there to sell, you're going to repel.
Hmm. That is true. That is true. And that brings me to a question from a self-love kind of point of view. Do you think that somebody that goes in just with the intent to sell only and not help, not even because there's people that they don't even want to help. Like help
Mm.
is free, advice is free, and they're like, if you're not buying me, I'm not even helping you. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that it depends on how we see it. I think it's a perception because I figure that like if I put myself in the shoes of somebody that goes into and doesn't want to help, doesn't want to help, doesn't want to help. There's a lot of options. Maybe that person has helped too many people until today and never got any help, and maybe that person is gonna be like, you know what, now it's my turn. But the problem is how people see it, right? So one thing is you seeing it and having that expectation that people will understand and see it the same way. First, people would have to care, and there's always that thing about like what's in it for me, right? Which is kind of what happens a lot, right? How does this help me? It doesn't help me. I'm going to be sympathetic towards you because I can listen to you, not understand you, or I can be empathetic. I can listen to you and understand you, right? There's a big difference. There's a big difference between sympathy and empathy, right? Between sympathy and empathy. And yeah, I mean, I guess that for example, yeah, I mean, it just depends because the person who's doing it can see it as something selfish, right? But you don't know what the person has done, right? Or it can just be simply selfish. Like it can either be that way or it's super selfish. But when it comes to self love, um, it's like I myself, when I put myself in those shoes, it's like if I'm projecting, like usually our behaviors are a projection of how we feel in the first place, right? Um, a lot of people they try to be selfish at first because they think that if they're not selfish first, if they don't ask first and they don't make it all about themselves, they think people will ask first and make it all about themselves. So they try to cut the corner right away and they try to just like break it, right? Um, however, I don't really believe. I mean, let me rephrase it. I believe we are seeing more of less and less. Like we're seeing less and less of that happening because even the rules and the guidelines and the culture that certain networking groups now have, they don't even allow it anymore. Like they just simply say, "Look, you're not here to sell anybody. You're here to collaborate and sell to their audience and and their audience, and they sell to your audience, right? And if anybody tries to sell anything, you're out. That's it, right? And so that's a very good thing, right? Um, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience as well. But yeah, it's like it just depends. Um, yeah, I guess that's kind of it.
Okay, I I hear your point of view. I I just cannot be 100% with just a couple of things. Number one, yes, I agree that as humans we can get to become selfish at times because we are, it's human nature. Since we're little kids, we want the toy that our brother or sister has. Period. But as we grow up, there are certain things that we have to learn because here's the thing. In the army, they tell us that people don't know how much you care until you show them that you care. And like I said, a lot of times help doesn't have to be in a monetary position. It can be with knowledge. It could be with, just that whole thing of let me see what I can do for you. And sometimes it might be just lending an ear. And that might get you that connection. That is the only part that because I understand the part that people sometimes take advantage or a lot of times take advantage of other people. But guess what? If we keep on the philosophy of if they hurt me, I will hurt the next, we're just building a bunch of people that are just hurt and just gonna keep hurting the rest. So it's not really, really healthy. That's just my take on it.
Right.
But I really, really resonate with what Kara said a minute ago, which is people have to go there with intention of connecting in the human level. But that takes us to the second step. So hopefully you guys like this.
Oh, I'm excited. Can I add something
And
in there though? Because
absolutely, go ahead.
I loved what I heard from Bruno. I would just reframe it, right? So we all know that givers get, right? Like givers get. That is consistently, trackably true all over. And
Yeah,
takers take. Like that's gonna be a thing. That is going to happen. And if you're not aware of that in a business setting, then you're not going to set the appropriate boundaries for yourself so that you give before you give to resentment, right? Like that's the trick. You have got to come into these, and I'm sure you're about to go talk about this, but you have to come with the desire to give, but know your limits, right? Like you're allowed to stop giving. You don't have to give till you're angry and exhausted. That's actually terrible business. That's terrible leadership. Don't do that. But do go
yes,
in with the intent to give. Okay, go.
yes. And that takes me to the next thing. A lot of people think that I go with intent of giving or doing my best, but you see how this intensity is? They do it the first time. And that's it. It's proven that unfortunately, people tend to remember bad things a lot longer than good things. If I'm not mistaken, there was a thing that I was reading that
Yeah.
it takes 19 positive actions for you to forget one negative.
Wow.
19 to forget one negative.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So,
Yep.
That's crazy.
yes. So
Emotional
19,
bank, when we teach it for leadership, it's 10 to 1. For every one time you redirect somebody or reprimand them, you have to give them 10 praises for them to just emotionally be balanced again.
Yeah, because
hmm
it's like in the theory part, like in you we all heard it, right? Like we have all heard it, like it takes longer to gain somebody's trust than really lose it, right? But when we actually hear the numbers, right, it's like mind blowing. So yeah.
Oh, like that though. Oh,
yes.
cool. Yeah. Okay, Johnny, go.
So that takes me back to consistency. Uh, You know, when you meet somebody for the first time and that person is actively trying to help you every which way, a lot of people immediately would think like there must be something in it for them that they want to help me so desperately. And in most cases, it's just people that really love what they do. But here's what happens. Consistency of them seeing that you're trying, you're trying, you're trying. At one point or another, they're gonna say, you know what? let me give it a try. And that brings me to asking Kara, as a leader, how can people, or do you have any tool that you can give us or give other leaders to hold their impulses? Because let's be honest, one of the things is impulse buying, impulse doing, because I believe there's more good people than bad people in this world.
Agree. Agree. Okay, so what we're looking for is impulse control tactics, ways that we can get ahead of our reactionary responses. Oh, yes.
Hmm.
This is going to sound ridiculously simple, and yet it is factually true. Simply awareness makes a huge difference. So if you are aware that you have a habit of doing something, awareness is the first step that allows you to impact it. So the tool, my favorite tool around awareness specifically, especially for networking, is reflect. Like, reflect on, who did you vibe with? Who did you run into out there that you were like, I don't even know what they did, but I just like magnetized that person. Know that. Learn and be aware of that. Be aware of the people that you like didn't even talk to, but you didn't want to talk to. And not in a way that there's something wrong with them. There's not. They just didn't vibe with you. And your awareness of that allows you to accept that without putting any of that weight on them. Just be like, oh, so that's new about me. Now I know that. And then become aware of the thought that happens before you speak. So, one way to learn this is there are often two thoughts that happen in our brain. They call it the second thought. So, you want to learn to be aware of your second thought. So, the first thought comes from your brainstem and your amygdala, like they're pre programmed. That's the space where your brain is doing your brain thing without you necessarily getting to be a part of it. Well, that was fun. There's a wave on the screen. And now I'm distracted. Darn it. What was I saying? Okay. So the
I'm
first thought,
sorry.
I'm so easily distracted. That's the thing I'm aware of for me. Ha! So the first thought that you think is typically a pre-programmed thought, something that was downloaded in your brain before you were 6 years old, by your parents, by your community, by the things that trained you on how to people at the base. And then at 6 years old, we start to kind of decide what our version of that might look like. We start to push back. And when we start really pushing back in our teens and 20s, so that we can start being like, oh, okay, in our 30s, like, what does that actually look like? But the earlier that you can become aware of your second thought, that pushback thought, the more you can learn to take control of it. So, what that looks like in a tangible way is when something happens and your first thought is like, oh, that's stupid. I hate that. And then your second thought is like, I don't actually care. That second thought is more accurately you and how you feel about it. And when you can become aware of that voice in your brain, you can start to, I don't know that we want to talk to the voices in our head. Depends on which therapist you're going to and whether or not they're encouraging family systems, whatever. Check those voices in your head is what I'm saying on that. But do have a conversation with yourself, right? If you can recognize that voice in your brain, then you can start to go, oh, well, what do I actually think about this? Why am I reacting this way? What's that coming from? It's that awareness that allow you to start pulling your reactions back.
Hmm. And I love it because you mentioned two things, learning and being aware. Two important things. So, Bruno, tell us what's making you giggle.
My ridiculousness.
Oh god, no, because it's so true, and it's like you can apply like what Kara said. You can apply it to like everything. You can apply it like to yourself, to how your impulsiveness towards the celebrities you like, the comments you read on social media, family, friends, obviously business, and that was what I was talking about, and most importantly, that business topic. And it's funny. You know what? Like, funny enough, my first step on my 6 month program, my one-on-one program, is self-awareness. It's self-reflection. I'm a big believer that the more you sharpen your sword, the quicker you cut through the tree. right? That's why my program doesn't last a year; it lasts 6 months because we spend 2 months working on that awareness, so that we actually get to it quite fast. Um, and so it's like Karate Kid, right? It's like he complains, and in this case it's a she, right? But in the Karate Kid, it's a he complains because he doesn't understand, right? But then he actually understands that all that delaying was actually good for him, right? And then the fun starts. Yes, but
Yeah.
anyways, impulsive. It's usually our impulses that destroy our life, right? It's always the lack of self control. It's always like the not thinking before we act. And so because Kara already said like a lot, right? I'm gonna teach a technique that whenever you feel like because the bad thoughts that can come to your head usually come from a damaged state of being, a lower vibration, right? So if you want to stop your thoughts, uh, like sensorial in the back of your head, right? So if you start like if you close your eyes, and then like if you're having thoughts, if you close your eyes and like you focus your like attention into the back part of your brain, you will realize that you're not thinking anymore. And that works with me, and I know it works with other people as well. I think it works with Kara.
You guys, I look for practices that help me shut my brain up because it's so loud in here all the time. It was like, I mean, it didn't last very long. Like, as soon as you said you stopped thinking, part of my brain was like, no, I didn't. But it did. For a second, it was like silent. I was like, oh my God.
That's what peace sounds like?
Is this how it is for other people? Wow. No wonder you can focus. Sorry.
No, but
Yeah.
it's very powerful, right? It's just very, very powerful. It's with practice, people get there very easily. So.
Hmm. And I love that both of you are touching the subject of learning because networking is not just, hello, how are you? Here's my business card. Let's connect. Let's sit down for a coffee. It's a lot more. And I'm gonna share this with you. Hopefully you find this helpful. But yes, you need to read books, you need to listen to podcasts, watch tutorials, talk to professionals, work with professionals. And then the most important thing after you have all those golden nuggets in your pocket, take action. If you don't take action, nothing's going to happen. Absolutely nothing. So, one of the things that kills a lot of business ideas and business owners is that they have an amazing idea, but they never took action. And then they see somebody else doing the same idea they had maybe a couple or 10 or 20 years ago. It's like, oh, I thought about it first. So don't do that to yourself. As a self-love coach, Bruno, what can you or what tool do you recommend for people to start taking action? Because there's a lot of people that are really good and focus on reading, learning, but what can you do or what can you suggest for them to start taking action?
It's really funny because like it's a great question, and it's like it's one of the hardest questions that anybody will ever answer, at least in my view, because there's a lot of tips to know how to get people to continue, but there's not many tips on how for people to get started. And the reason for that is because it's the reason for
Hello, how
that.
are you?
Oh, hello.
Keep
So the
going,
reason
Bruno.
for
Please
no,
ignore him. Please go.
don't worry. Sorry. Right. So the reason for that is because we're never in control of other people, and it's just hard to tell people to do something that we know is good for them. But it's if people are not aware of it, right? Like we touched on awareness and self-reflection, right? If people are not aware of it, then there's not really much we can do for people, right? Um, and but if I was gonna say something to somebody, I'd say like it's like this will maybe trigger a lot of the shadow side of ourselves, But you know what, like that has really got me going in a lot of times. I made the majority of my progress when people said two words that I will forever be like, and those two words for me are like, you can't, and I'm like, okay,
Watch me.
no problem, sure, no worry. If that gets you going, and yo, look, just bathe on it,
And that is true. That is
bathe
absolutely
on it.
true. The second that for some people that you can think will trigger you to say, you know what, let me show you I can't do that anymore.
Exactly.
It- uh, Unfortunately, it's not everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the part that is tough because, um, as you know, I have my business also as a with a dance studio, and there's a lot of people that will come to the class that will learn the technique, they will do it flawlessly while we're teaching, and then the second they get to the dance floor, they freeze and everything goes to blank. And I tell them, that is a normal reaction. Please don't be scared if you get to the dance floor and you're blanked out because that you can't uh, thing or thought and or voice in their brain just stop them on their tracks.
Right.
So I want to go ahead and I would like to give a tip if you're one of the people that meet that criteria
Hi,
that the
Mom.
you can't does not trigger you to do something. One thing is break the whatever you're trying to do, break into small chunks. Break into the smallest chunk you can, and then do it one by one. You will notice the repetition doing it like that will get you the confidence you need to start saying, I can.
Yes.
So hopefully that helps you. And the same thing happens in networking. Go ahead then.
That's what I
Yes.
was going to do. Can I take that and this image and put it back on networking? Because I love that.
Yes.
Okay. So if we're going to learn, like you go into networking with the intention of learning about everyone else, like make that your first step. If that is all you do in a networking event is go and learn about other people, that is an excellent first step. The second step is to decide and reflect, right? What Bruno was saying, look back at yourself. Who of those people I learned about do I like actually want to know more about? Because it's not going to be everybody. And don't feel bad about that. That doesn't mean anything bad about them. That doesn't mean anything bad about you. That's just human alignment, value check. Okay, cool. So, first step, go learn about people. Second step, did you like somebody you might want to learn more about? And not even because you want to buy their product, but you just find them an interesting person, right? And then you take the action. Third step, go take that action and reach out to them. Do that follow up thing that everybody talks about is the real power of networking is that follow up. But follow up with only the people you like because you like them and start there. Then you'll start to figure out, ooh, I'm going to connect with this person because I like them for business. I like this. I want to connect with this person because I like them as a referral partner. I like this person because I want to just have them in my life. I like this. And you'll start to be able to categorize it as you go through. But if you want to break down networking into three very simple steps that will get you to that taking action, go learn about people. Figure out which one you want to learn more about, and then ask if you can learn more about them.
Hmm. And that takes me to the next part of after you have learned about that person. A lot of people think that gossip is bad. That gossip is a bad thing. Well, after you have learned about that person, gossip positively about that person. Keyword positively, please.
Yeah, yeah,
Gossip about the person as much as you can because here's the thing, that's how actually you may connect with somebody that also likes as much as you did about that other person, about your business. And guess what? If they see you gossiping about their business positively, they're gonna do the same thing because one thing that it's in nature, and actually Coca-Cola tested it, there's a Coca-Cola test where there's a guy asking for directions, and well, the guy just goes as the first person. People are like, yeah, I'll give you directions, and they try to give directions the best they can because you see, it's free, it's just knowledge, so they don't care about giving it. But then they put the same guy asking for help to other people. The second that he asked for help, nobody would. They tried to avoid him as much as they could. But guess what? The next scenario was him just walking to a completely stranger, giving him a Coke, okay, for them to sip on, enjoy it. And then what happens is that he comes back a little bit later and asks them for a favor. And they really like couldn't, you would see them trying to help that person, even if they didn't know what they were trying to do. Because is that inherent in people to help other people that you like and trust? So that is one of the reasons why I'm gonna make this announcement right now. The announcement is we're gonna start networking right now while we test the platform and everything. Networking is gonna be 100% free. You can bring as many pals and friends as you want and other business owners. The way that it's gonna work is the first Monday of the month, we're gonna have uh, either a marketing class or something that is gonna help your business growth. Either we're gonna have a guest speaker or we're gonna have one of our people in our leadership speak about their business and how they can help your business grow, giving you ideas and different tools. Then we're gonna have two following Mondays of networking. And then we're gonna have somebody from the group as the highlighted person to come and speak for a little bit. And then we're gonna have other surprises for you to promote your business and help grow and connect with other people. So that is my gift to all of you. So help us share this for you. And then after that, because you might be working, you might be thinking, oh, it's free right now, but how much is gonna be later? It's simple. We're not gonna break the piggy bank. Where it's gonna be $15 a month for that. Now, if you do decide to do anything else, then there's gonna be extra prices for it. But $15 a month to help you promote your business, believe me, you spend that in a burger and fries, and sometimes even more. So, Kara, what is the best tool for a business owner to use when they're just getting started?
I love, I'm going to go back to that gossiping thing, right? Like, I
Okay.
love that lean because here's the thing that we all know about gossip. Gossip says more about the person gossiping than the person being gossiped about, right? But if what is said about you when you're not in the room is also your personal brand, then the more time you spend promoting other people when they're not around with your words, you become the person people want to be around because you're going around promoting them. And as an entrepreneur, learning to promote yourself is a whole lean. Like, that is a learning curve, but we're naturally very good at promoting people we like. I can tell you all about what my guys do here, but I could probably do them and their businesses better than my own when I first started. So if you do that and you become that person, then other people will mirror that behavior and suddenly you don't have to promote yourself. You get to promote everybody else who you like and then they promote for you.
Right.
Gossip,
That's great.
gossip, gossip good. That's a great hack.
Hmm.
Yes. So you actually got exactly what I was going to say. The power of word of mouth. That is the best tool that any startup can do. Is the cheapest marketing, but is the most effective.
Yep.
It is extremely effective.
Sustainable.
Now, Bruno, I would like for you to help us close this part of the networking with what tools, as a self-love coach, you think a business owner should use in order to connect with more people.
Well, in order for you to connect with more people, ask for that connection. So like, don't tell, like, if somebody tells you like, oh, here's their email, email them. I'm like, no, no, sir. no, connect me with them, like introduce me to them, because that's how the wealthy and the, like, that's how wealthy people and rich people do it in the first place. Like, because think about it, like, between having somebody introduce you, right, or telling you, oh, so person X actually told me that, he sent me to you, and if it comes from me, like, that's a mess. That's a mess, like, just take like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to write it like an email, and that's it. Simple. Like, I don't need, like, you don't even need to have this like big line of text, like saying like all your achievements and all those things. The fact that you're being introduced by that person, right, is already something that is going to have people, because that person will be like, okay, so let's say, oh, so Sean is bringing, okay, so Sean is a trustworthy person, so you should be a trustworthy person as well. I don't need like 50 lines of your accomplishments and your biography to know that you're a trustworthy person because of who sent you, right? And that's number one. And then Carol also gave me an idea, which is like, for example, if you don't know how to promote yourself on networking, right? Give an idea to somebody who's creative, and have them promote you, for instance. Have them like, so I'm not quite sure how I promote myself. How would you promote me, right? For example, I started my MRA community some time ago, and I'm actually looking for influencers, to have a little campaign for me, and really do it. But before that, Carol was like, yeah, okay, I can promote your membership, no problem, but like, tell me the objective. And I said the objective, right? And Carol was like, okay, so why don't you say it this way? And I was like, that's actually iconic, because that's actually much better. And that's basically what you need. Like, you need either a friend or a business or both, right? Who who can just like see things from a different perspective, a different way, right? So that's a good thing. So that's tip number one. Actually, tip number one was the don't, like, if you have the email, tell them, like, no, like, actually connect me with them. Tip number two was what I just said, right? Yeah, and tip number three, like, tool number three, as a self love coach, what to do with self love now. Um, Kara said something very important, which is like, if things don't go very well with you, it's not their problem or your problem. There's just that, like, there's millions of people in business, and some people connect better with other people, and other people don't. And, it's like,
Hmm.
I had to learn that. I had to understand it, because I'm not a picky person. I can talk with everybody about anything. Like, even when I was in university, you had like little tribes, little groups of people. I never really had a tribe of my own. I was like, you want to go out? Yeah. Well, oh, now, I'm gonna go with that group, and I'm gonna go with that group, and I was like very diverse at that, right? I was always like kind of a man of the people, let's say. But when I went into business, I thought it was gonna be the same thing, but there was always some people that it wasn't like that. It was something in the way they networked. It was something in the way they did business. It was something that there was something wasn't right, and I wasn't used to that. Now, I didn't blame myself, because that's not a very self-love coach, right? But I had to self-reflect, be aware, and just really understand that, what, that's life. It's like, especially as a business owner, we try to, like, a lot of business owners, like, they try to please everybody, right? They try to be like, oh no, but it's like, yeah, I can do it for everybody, and I'm the most perfect business owner ever, and I mean, whether you are not, you should do it for yourself, for your own self, and not really to have people impressed, because you're telling this to people now, but guess what? People have so many other things to think about, that like, um, like, for example, you were talking about, what was it you said, like, just now, that I didn't know as well, that I said as well, that you need like 19, right? 19 good,
19 positive. Hmm.
and then positives, whether if you're a business owner or a client, right? Or you're a business owner who's now also acting as a client, right? Because business owners are also clients, obviously, like everybody else, right? you also need like 7 to 8 touch points, right? In order for people to buy something, right? And so
Mhm.
and so it's the same thing here. It's like there are just certain metrics that they're just scientifically proven to work that way until now, right? And you're not supposed to please everybody. You're not supposed to appear as the most perfect, right? And you're also not supposed to, let's say, how do I say it? Like you're not supposed to just. I had the words in my head. They left. So like you're not supposed to show up as again like your most perfect self. That's basically it. You're supposed to show up to what you have and really oh yeah, I know now. You cannot please Greeks and Trojans, which is the saying that we have in Portugal, right? It comes from ancient Greece. You cannot please Greeks and Trojans, right? Um, and that's it. You cannot please people in business or everybody in business. You cannot please everybody in family. You cannot please everybody in your friends. You cannot please the entire world, right? And even in business, there will always be somebody who doesn't know what you do, right? Which just proves how networking is so important, right? So yeah, that's
Okay. And I like one thing that you mentioned. You mentioned about the touch. Every time that you have to touch to a person, at least 8 times you have to reach that person in order to for you to get ingrained in their head. And one of the things that I do by the fourth time that I touch base with a person when I have a one-on-one is I ask them, hey, who do you think that is just as fun as you that would be a great connection for me and my business? Don't be afraid of asking because you're not asking for something, tremendously outrageous. If they happen to know, great. If they don't, that's fine. That's not a problem. But at least that person will have that in their mind. And next time they meet somebody that they think that will click with you, guess what? They're gonna be referring you to that person. So, Kara, get this ball all the way to home run. And for the last question, I I know that you have the Kara method
Hmm.
and you have the 15 minutes of clarity.
Hmm.
Now, with your clarity as a networker, what would you say that after a networking, people should ask themselves after they finish a meeting, either one-on-one or a group? What should they ask themselves to be a little more effective on the networking?
Hmm. Number one thing to reflect on after networking to make you better at networking. The first one I think would be, who did I like? And this goes back to what Bruno was just saying, right? Like, so in leadership, I pride myself on being able to work with anyone. Like, that is one of the goals of leadership is that I can adapt and adjust and I get along with everybody. But just because you can doesn't mean you should, doesn't mean you wanna, you know? And it's that performance, that Trojan performance that underlies that accountability, that authenticity, right? That shows up as fake if you're not actually who you are.
Re-
So who did you like? Like really, who did you vibe with? And and then how can you say what you said that day with less words? Or better, how could you say what you said about your business as a question for someone else? So rather than saying, hey, I'm an executive leadership coach who works with neurospicy leaders. Do you have any neurospicy leaders who need some leadership support? I can say, hey, how does your business handle neurodiversity? What do you guys do with your neurodiverse leaders? It's the same thing I would have said, except now I'm asking it as a question. So figure out how you can frame what you want to know as a question rather than a deliverable. Those would be my two.
Mhm. There you go. So now you have some tools. Now we look forward to announcing when we're going to start the networking. Like I said at the beginning, there's going to be a few tests because it's a new software for us. So there's gonna be a few tests, but there's gonna be a few perks that I'm gonna be announcing along the way. So if you actually show up for the networking, you will get some of those perks. So besides that, anybody wants to close with anything else, or are we ready to say good night?
Yep.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Bye,
Hopefully,
everyone.